It's the NFL Presidential Address for Week 7. I'm Lawrence Presman. They call me the Prez, co-founder of Wager Talk Media, owner of WagerTalk.com, SportsMemo.com, and the iconic, legendary Gold Sheet. Today's show, like always, Ralph Michaels and myself will take apart every game on the board, and we're going to bring Ralph in. Ralph, I know you like small talk. What do you want to talk about today? A movie, music?
I'm ready to say, let's talk some trails, but I'm not quite sure if you were done with your small talk.
Ralph, let's get into a promo and then straight to it. You're 17-9 in your last 26 NFL plays. You're on a 13-5-1 college football run. You're totally in the zone right now. You're seeing both sports really well. Congratulations. And we got a great promo for all of you guys. RM30. That's $30 off of the next week of plays. All your sports, Ralph. 7 days, $69. Head over to WagerTalk.com. Use the promo code RM30. Want to add to that?
I do. October is by far my favorite month in college football because we have transitions. There's so many fake favorites from playing poor FCS schedules. There's so many teams that are underrated because they played quality schedules. We have such a big difference in strength of schedule played and those stats. That's exactly why I do the college football stat matchup that I do that's free at Wager Talk, because that's where you find value. Teams change the way they play as far as plays per game, as far as pace. Again, that's why college football is doing well. And I will have a 5% NFL play to go included in that package with RM30. You go to Ralph Michaels' page, click the 7-day all access. It'll say $99. Type in code RM30, $69, 7 days. Be a part.
I had my cleaners over last night to clean my house. They cleaned the studio and they moved my lights. Let me do another quick move here. For some strange reason, I got my green screen, the lights. It's showing shadows on me. Oh well, what can you do, Ralph? Trends and angles. Home teams, man, away teams, they just keep rolling. Away teams 62% against the spread. Home teams 38% against the spread. Favorites 40%, underdogs 60%, and 53% of the games have gone to the under. Nothing really much has changed since last week. What do you got for us?
It hasn't, and I just want to go a step further with that, Prez. Away dogs, we know the road teams have hit 60%. Away dogs have 5% against the spread. And for those, we'll talk about some money line parlay. Away dogs 27 and 32 straight up with an average line of 5.8. So you have away dogs hitting at 47%, an amazing clip. Make sure you take advantage with some of those money line plays. Home dogs, when you have a double-digit dog, the last 31 times that's happened, Prez, the total is 4 and 27, 87% to the under. What happens? The away team's the better team. It knows it doesn't need to keep scoring. They're the superior foe. The underdog knows they have to run to try to slow the clock down and eat up some clock. 4 and 27 over under when we have a double-digit home dog.
And where are our double-digit home dogs? Buffalo's minus 17. I'm not really seeing a whole bunch of those for this week.
Well, San Fran was 10 yesterday, and New England and the Jets are in the mix of being 9.5 and 10 as well. So San Fran actually came down from yesterday when I did my notes on that game. But just, again, the 9.5 records are almost exactly the same. You have to remember when we're looking at these numbers, it's not necessarily exactly 10 means this game's going to go under. It's the philosophy of being that 10-point favorite. So the 9.5-point favorite record is almost exactly the Away teams off a close win where both teams scored over 31 points. So you're in a shootout. You're in a close game. You won between 1 and Arizona and 10. Those teams have gone 13 and 29 to the under, 69% to the under. And from week 6 on, anytime this occurs, team has a win percentage of 100% or more as a favorite. They've gone 13 and 32 against the spread, 29%. And as an away favorite since 2015, they've gone 2 and 12. Now, I'm sure if I take the Patriots out of that, it's going to be an incredibly small percentage. But keep an eye on San Francisco. When you 5-0 or 6-0, you start paying the price with inflated lines. So next week, if they're still undefeated, I'm going to do the record without the Patriots being
Ralph
involved
Michaels.
in there.
I'm the Prez. You're watching the NFL Presidential Address. You can find it every Wednesday at Wager Talk TV, our YouTube channel. And Ralph, let's get straight to the primetime preview. Kansas City -3 against Denver. Denver's off of 2 wins in a row, a very rare shutout in the NFL. Kansas City, 2 losses in a row, Ralph. Indy and Houston, their offense is out of sync. Their defense is a disaster, and they just can't tackle. I think this game is Denver is going to slow this game to a crawl. If Denver can put together 60, 70-yard drives, I think it's going to take 8 minutes. I think the Kansas City offense will likely stay out of sync this week. I don't think they're going to see a whole lot of field time. With that said, I can't bet Denver in this spot, Ralph. I feel like these teams, there's a massive discrepancy between the talent on these teams. I understand that Denver has to play against a really bad Kansas City defense, and Kansas City has to play against a really good Denver offense. But the bottom line to me, Ralph, is you got to be able to expect 24 to 30 points from Kansas City, regardless of who they play. I understand that they didn't do that against Indianapolis, but they still got their 24 or so against Houston. I don't think Denver can keep up with this team. I like Kansas City in this spot. I do lean slightly on the under, but I just feel like these two teams, there's just a very wide gap of talent here. What do you like?
I like the way Denver's progressing. Remember, you have a new coach in Vic Fangio. He is also calling the plays coming from the Bears. The Denver Broncos were very slow learning this defense. They didn't have any sacks the first 3 games. Well, they now have 12 sacks the last 3 games. They have takeaways. They are running the ball. They got their fullback back against the Chargers. It led them to, keep the game close against Kansas City. I can never back an away favorite that's allowing 162 yards per game and 5.2 yards per carry. I will fade that team all day long, but I'm not strong enough on the Broncos to back them. So it's a no play for me. I do agree with the under. Remember, the Broncos are now 113-1 over under their last 15 games. We've seen the Kansas City office, sans 2 offensive linemen, be very mediocre. Mahomes isn't all of a sudden going to have a completely healthy ankle. And if that gets tweaked again, I think you're going to see an extremely low-scoring game.
He's Ralph Michaels. I'm the Prez. Guys, head over to wagertalk.com. Use the promo code RM30. Get the next 7 days of Ralph Michaels' plays for $69. Ralph, potentially the game of the week. Philadelphia on the road playing Dallas. We've already had Doug Peterson guarantee a Philadelphia win. Nice bulletin board material for the Cowboys. Dallas finds themselves at -3. We have a total of 48.5. Philadelphia's got the best run defense in football. And I think that's going to really factor in this game. I think Dak Prescott is completely out of sync right now. This is a Jekyll and Hyde Dallas Cowboy team. They could come out and put together a perfect game. But I think they're going to struggle to run the ball against this Philadelphia defense, which is what leads me to the over here, Ralph. I don't think I'm going to get to the window in this game at all. But my lean is to the over because I feel like Dallas is going to have to stretch the field in order to create some space for Zeke. And I think Philadelphia can play to the over against any team in the league. That's sort of my take, but I'm not getting to the window on this game.
Be getting to the window either. Here's just a stat that's, again, I'm not playing anything on the stat, but it's sort of us Cowboys are 1-1 as a home favorite coming off a straight up and ATS loss. So it just shows they don't bounce back after a straight up loss, where some of the better teams, that's the position you look to play them. Well, the Cowboys at home haven't been one of those teams to get margin. I actually lean with the Cowboys here if I had to make a pick. Philadelphia to me is just so banged up still. And yes, they went to Minnesota and the rush numbers look good, but that's because Kirk Cousins, they had a lot of play action and threw for 325 yards. Prescott is certainly available to throw that, but again, Amari Cooper, you don't know his situation. Elliott, he has the offensive line is still not in sync like it's accustomed to. No play for me, but people are putting Dallas in the garbage can because of 3 losses. Well, they went to New Orleans, one of the toughest places to play. They lost to a playoff team in Green Bay. And yes, they did lose against the Jets with Sam Darnold back, but they were overrated from their 3 wins. But I think the Dallas Cowboys are now actually underrated.
I think that's a great point, Ralph. And I'll tell you honestly, I felt like the New York Jets was the right play all along. I thought it was a really bad spot for Dallas with Philadelphia on tap. And also with the New York Jets just really desperately needing to turn their season around and getting some life with Darnold coming back in. And speaking of Darnold, they're hosting New England. New England is minus 9.5 on the road. The over and under is 42.5. And Ralph, I actually am getting to the window in this game. I will be playing the over. Now, I understand New England's defense is ridiculous. But if you listen to the NFL preview show at the beginning of the year, I said the New York Jets were going to be an over team. Then they lost Darnold and pretty much played to the under every game. I think this New York Jets team is going to put up points. 42.5 is a super low number. Regardless of the stats with New England's defense, they really haven't played an offensive-minded team yet. I mean, Buffalo, yeah. 42.5, brother. I'm going straight to the over, and I'm betting my own hard-earned money on it. What do you like?
I lean with the Jets in this game. We talked about New England's defense. You mentioned it a few times, 234 yards per game. And while they faced the Jets in week 3 and held them to 105 yards, that was a Darnold-less Jets team. As the Jets haven't run the ball, even with Le'Veon Bell and Sam Darnold back last week against Dallas, they only put up 56 yards and 2.8 yards per carry. So I don't think they're going to be able to run again. Washington did break couple long. You look at Washington stats against the Patriots, and you see 143 yards and 7.3 yards per carry, but 52 or 56 of that was on one run where they scored that touchdown in the first quarter on an end around. So you have to box score. Hey, those are sort of garbage yards in my mind. I lean with the Jets just because the Patriots are, on the road. We know that they don't mind getting conservative. The Jets defense has played fairly well, and I'm going to grab the 9.5 or 10 points with the Jets as a home. Won't make my card. Not even a strong opinion, but just a light opinion for a primetime game.
Early games, my friend. Let's get straight to it. Arizona +3 against the New York Giants. And this line has moved substantially, Ralph. There's a lot of money coming in on the New York Giants and the over. 75% of the tickets written so far is on the over, yet a reverse line move has happened. It always fascinates me. 75% of the tickets on the over, it came out at 50 and now it's at 49, which means there's a lot of very respected money coming in on the under. New York Giants Nice 9-10 day gap for them to prepare for this game. Arizona's playing good ball. Their offense is in sync, and they're getting a lot of yards on plays. With that said, I like the New York Giants in this spot, Ralph. I think the New York Giants are looking at this saying, hey, we've got a new quarterback. We've had a lot of injuries this season, and we're only one game out of being tied for first place in the NFC East. I think they're going to coming into this game feeling pretty good about themselves. I'm not going to get to the window here, but I do like the New York Giants at -3.
Prez, we're going to butt heads on this one. I do like Arizona, what they've done the last 2 weeks. And you could say, yes, they've only played Cincinnati and Atlanta. But again, you have a young quarterback who's now getting confidence. Kyler Murray, 27 of 37, 340 yards. And it's the injury list keeping me off the Giants. They put up 213 yards. Yes, they were on the road at New England.
Yeah.
But Barkley's likely not back. Ingram's likely not back. Shepard's likely not back. So with their top three skill players being gone, I lost last week on the under. That was my only NFL loss last week. On Thursday night, I had New England and the Giants under. And you could say the Giants scored 14 points, but they didn't. They scored 70 points on a 50-yard bomb, and then they didn't move the ball. They only had 10 first downs. And while, again, I'm not comparing the Cardinals defense to Minnesota or New England, who the Giants played the last 2 weeks, without your top three skill players being there, there's no way I'm going to lay points with this Giants team. If they get two of them back, it's a completely different story. But if all three of them are out, Arizona could potentially
Arizona's, they're a year away. Maybe 2 or 3 or 5.
They're not a year away from the playoffs. They're a year away maybe from respectability. But you look at the depth of their team; they're a couple years away from
Murray,
doing
though,
anything.
is doing great. What an incredible completion percentage. One of the most accurate quarterbacks in football right now. I think he's around 75%, which is just crazy numbers. Guys, make sure to head over to Wager Talk. Use the promo code RM30. That's $69 for 7 days of Ralph Michaels plays. And we are going to change the promo at the bottom of the screen right now to Brian Leonard. Look at that promo. Brian Leonard, Ralph. I mean, come on. 24-8 college football run. Just nuts. Houston going into Indianapolis. We spoke about this game yesterday on the Betting Edge, and I like Houston here. The bottom line for me, Ralph, is I get it. Indy came off a big win against Kansas City. They're an extremely well-coached team. They've got probably the best O-line in football. Houston, though, they went into Kansas City. They won that game. They went into New Orleans to start the season and could have won that game. This team is not afraid to play on the road. And I just think, like Kansas City and Denver, it's a very similar style matchup. I think Houston is just a lot better than Indianapolis, and I think Houston will put up points against anybody. I don't know if Indianapolis can keep up. I mean, Houston, great running game coming out of the backfield with Hyde and Johnson. They got Fuller to stretch the field. Hopkins catches anything thrown to him. Good tight end. Deshaun Watson is absolutely in the zone. I think all Indianapolis has on Houston really is a better coach and a better front four. Ralph, what do you like in this one?
I do like Houston. We've seen what Deshaun Watson can do when he gets a clean pocket like he has, not getting sacked each of the last 2 games. He's put up, 1,064 yards and 84 points against Atlanta and Kansas City. And I look at the Colts and I say, well, can Houston run on Indianapolis? And their season stats aren't bad, allowing 113 yards per carry, but they're so fake. faced the Falcons and only gave up 93 yards, and they faced Kansas City and only gave up 36 yards. When you look at when they faced a rushing team in the Chargers, and this was without Melvin Gordon, Chargers rushed for 6.0 yards per carry. Against Oakland, Oakland rushed for 5.9 yards per carry. Well, this Houston team's rushing for 140 yards per game, 5.0 yards per carry. You're going to have that offense with Deshaun Watson being able to use play action. And yes, Indy has a great O-line, but the Houston Texans needed to make some adjustments early. Why was J.J. Watt struggling? Well, J.J. Watt was struggling because Clowney used to be on the opposite side as a defensive end. With Clowney gone, J.J. Watt getting doubled and triple teamed. Well, we've seen them now figure out how they have to play defense, and their D-line has done great the last 4 games making that adjustments. I like the Houston Texans.
Miami, plus 17 against Buffalo. The total is 40.5. There's a lot of, and I don't know if you have this on hand, Ralph, but there's a ton of really good stuff as when the total is, this total is less than a third of the line. There's a lot of good angles for that. I remember the late Dave Malinsky. That was something that he would focus on a lot of the times. The bottom line for me, Ralph, is Miami's the play here. Look, I understand Buffalo's one of the best teams in football, and they're 4-1 against the spread on the year. They're 1-5 to the under. I think Miami's going to struggle to score. I get it. I think they're going to be lucky to put up 10 points. But if Miami puts up 10 points, Buffalo needs 27 to cover this number. Buffalo's not getting 27. I'm so sick, Ralph. This frickin' weather change in Toronto is killing me. Anyway, bottom line is Buffalo's a slow-moving offense, and they're not an offense that really cares to run up the score. I think Miami's the play here, and I could get to the window with them.
Prez, since 2010, when a team has been a 12-point, we've had a total of 42 or less. The over-under is 14-26, so 35% to the over, 65% to the under. And I look at Buffalo, and you're asking a team that was not a winning team, that doesn't know how to learn to play as a favorite. They're 1-3 as a home favorite. They haven't learned how to get margin and blow teams out because they haven't been in that role. Much like I say, it's a team has to learn how to win on the road, and then they have to learn to do that before you can bet them as an away favorite. Well, Buffalo is the same for me. Buffalo has to learn how to win consistently as a home favorite before I'm going to lay 7. With that said, if I had to pick a side, I'd pick Miami, but there's no way in hell I'm betting the Miami Dolphins. So my lean would say to not play Buffalo, but I don't want to tell you to bet Miami. So I'm in that gray area there where there's only one way to play it, but I can't.
Guys, Brian Leonard is on a 24-8 college football run. He's up massive profit this season in college football. He's our number one college football expert so far this year. His regular college football season package till the end of the bowl game is $525. It's yours for $379. That'll only last another couple of days. Head over to wagertalk.com. Use the promo code Brian379, and that's Brian with a Y. Brian379. I love this game, Ralph. Minnesota -1 on the road playing Detroit. Total is 45. I like the under, but I like Detroit. Detroit got completely jobbed against Green Bay. It was an unbelievable disaster of referee calls. 2 hands to the face penalties that didn't exist. The last one prevented Detroit from having 1 minute and 50 seconds to march back down the field to score a touchdown. The first one gave Green Bay a drive down the field to get their touchdown on a 3rd down. We also had a pass interference call that wasn't called to prevent Detroit from getting an end of the game field goal to put them up by 5. I think this Detroit team, I think Patricia has changed the mindset here, Ralph. I think this Detroit team is feeling good about themselves. I think they're tough. I think they look like a bunch of winners. You know, they're playing a really mean team in Minnesota. Minnesota could be the best team in the NFC when all things are ticking. Kirk Cousins has had two outstanding games back to back. They're getting more, what's the word? Balance. They're getting more balance from an offensive perspective. With all that said, I want the home team here. And I like Detroit, and I really like the under in this game. I mean, we saw Matt Stafford come out against Green Bay, throw two 50, 60-yard bombs right off the bat, both completions. But then for the rest of the game, they struggled, and they struggled mightily in the red zone. 7 field goals in that game against Green Bay. I like the under. I like Detroit. What do you like?
Well, with Detroit, I look at their stats, running game. Yeah, Kerryon Johnson has, his yards, but your rushing totals, you had 186 yards against Kansas City, 5.3 yards per carry, and you had 116 yards against Arizona. Your other games are the Chargers, Philly, and Green Bay, and you're about 3.0 yards per carry. So Stafford has to beat you. But Minnesota is that team that allows 67% on the pass. They don't allow a lot of bombs, a lot of dink and dunk passes, allowing you to move the ball in the red zone. I look at Minnesota and, for all our viewers here, if you want to bet Minnesota to win the division, if you like Minnesota, I mean, you look at their schedule. It is October 15th, and this is their final NFC North road game. Game 2, they played Green Bay on the road. Game 4, they played Chicago. And now they play Detroit. So you want to talk about an advantage later in the year schedule-wise, it's the Minnesota to play a division road game. So that just being said, if you're a Vikings fan moving forward, there's some advantage for you playing them in future plays to either win the division if you like them or to win. I'm not telling you to do that, but I'm just saying the edge is clearly there as far as advantage players. I agree with the under. Dalvin Cook has run the ball 108 times. Kirk Cousins has about the same amount of completions. And Detroit's defense is allowing 5.1 yards per carry. So Minnesota will run the ball. Detroit will get a lot of dink and dunks. I think the yardage numbers will be relatively high, but I agree in the red zone, we've seen both load, and I think they do so again.
Oakland, +5, 5.5. There's even a 6 on the board going into Green Bay. The total is 47. Oakland's coming off of an amazing victory against Chicago in London, and then they had a bye to prepare for this Green Bay game. Green Bay got lucky, as I said, against Detroit. I can't really make heads or tails on how good or bad this Green Bay team really is. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is an absolute beast. Their running game is coming together, but this is a team that can be run against, and I don't think their secondary is that great. With that said, I like Green Bay in this spot, man. I don't think Oakland is as good as their record, and I think Green Bay needs to get that sour taste of a crappy victory out of their mouth. I think Green Bay wins this game by double digits. I like the 5.5.
I don't know how much they need to get a crappy taste out. You're sitting 5-1. You've done what you had to do, and you're 3-0 against division foes, so you're sitting pretty. To me, it's a letdown on a short week against a team off a bye. To Oakland beating Indy, I would, if you said what's this line going to be, I would have said 11, and I probably would tell you I wouldn't have taken Oakland. But John Gruden talked about the beginning of the year how this O-line is really a good O-line, and he can compare it to most. He talked about his D-line and the young kids playing well. You have a D-line allowing 94 yards per carry. You have an O-line rushing for 130 yards, almost 5.0 yards per carry. That's the type of dog I like. And takes early, he's improved those. He's not throwing the ball into stupid spots like he did. Josh Jacobs, is he your premier running back? No, but, behind that O-line, I'm going to go back to the Denver Broncos. When the Denver Broncos had an O-line, 5, 6, 7 years ago, what did they do? It was a different rusher rushing for 1,000 yards each time. It's the O-line that makes the rusher, not the running back. So I have a lean on this. I actually lean with the Raiders. Coming off a Monday night close home game like the Packers did, a come-from-behind win against a division rival, against a rested team off a bye that can run the ball, is a situation that I will back the dog.
That makes total sense. With that said, I'm on Green Bay. Cincinnati can't go 0-16. They're plus 3.5 at home, a total of 43.5. It looks like the mustache is a little bit banged up. Jalen Ramsey is gone, and they can't insert the next 2 years of first-round draft picks into this game, so they don't count. I think Cincy wins this game outright. That's probably going to be my money line bet. It's just a gut feel. I think this Jalen Ramsey trade is going to affect the Jacksonville defensive psyche, and I also feel like it's a message to the players that said, "Okay, we're going for next year." I'm getting a hook on a home team that needs to win a game. I'm taking Cincy.
Yeah, you're getting a hook with a home team that needs to win a game against a team with a rookie quarterback making, his third road start. So I will say this. I thought you were going to say Cincinnati can't go 0-16 because they play the Miami Dolphins in week 16, game number 15. So, but, the tank for Tua, maybe they're going to tie and they're both going to end up 0-15-1. To me, this is a learning game. Gardner Minshew had his first bad game. It was bad. He made wrong decisions. He didn't go through his process of his receivers, first, second, third, and fourth. He rushed passes. So now you have a young quarterback in a situation playing away from home, coming off a bad game. So he has adversity. How is he going to respond? I'm going to wait and see. I just can't. I mean, they are such a team that without John Ross being there, without A.J. Green being there, they have the worst wide receivers in football, and Dalton's just struggling. Well, yeah, there's a reason you're having a tough pass time because your offense is running for 3.1 yards per carry, and your top two wide receivers aren't there. This is a game where I think I like the under. Jacksonville's defense to me is still a top upper half unit, top half of the league. I think after you saw what Gardner Minshew did, you're going to say, hey, let's give this to Fournette. Let's let him try to run it. Then we can run some play actions, get Gardner Minshew's confidence back. And I think Cincinnati, they only ran 52 plays against Baltimore, and they're in it to try to run the ball and slow the pace as well. I like the under
too, Ralph. It's a great call. 43.5 on the board. Guys, make sure to head over to Wager Talk. Use the promo code Brian379 for the rest of Brian Leonard's college football season. I'm going to change the scroll again. New promo coming up. And it's me. I'm 8-1 in the baseball playoffs, Ralph. Really in the zone in baseball right now. LA Rams on the road, -3 against Atlanta. The Rams offense, you want to talk about out of sync. Brother, this team marched down the field against San Fran, put up a touchdown, and didn't score again. Not even a field goal. Gurley looks like he might be coming back, but he's clearly banged up. Something is wrong with Jared Goff. I don't know if it's a physical or mental thing, but this guy is really, really struggling. But, like I said on the Monday show, if you want to get your offense back in sync, you need more cowbells, as Christopher Walken would say. Those cowbells come in the form of the Atlanta Falcon defense. This Atlanta Falcon defense is as bad a defense as it gets. If Atlanta played Kansas City, I think there's a real shot of this game being in the 80s. I think this game is a stone cold over. I know it's 54. It's a big number. I don't see Atlanta stopping the Rams. And Atlanta's already shown they could keep up with almost every team in the league. Tough loss against Arizona last week. We saw them make a comeback against Indy as well. I don't think I'm going to get to the window on this game, but I do like the over. Ralph?
I can see that over. And I'm one that's going to not have a problem backing Atlanta despite being 1-5. I agree with you, this Rams team. I will say this from a Rams standpoint. I think now lost 3 in a row. Know that they're still a playoff team. They're clearly good enough to make the playoffs. I think going out and making a trade for an offensive lineman with the Browns is a big deal. They needed a left guard. I think going out and trading 2 first-rounders for Jalen Ramsey has proven that you're going to do what you have to do. So from a player standpoint, I think despite having 3 straight losses, this team knows that their management is all in for them to play in the next year or two, get back to the Super Bowl, and have a better run. But with that said, you know, we've talked on this show the last couple of weeks about Jared Goff's home and road dichotomy and the difference in his stats. Well, how about if I just told you, in Jared overall, he has 14 TDs, 15 interceptions, and 14 fumbles. So your quarterback is directly responsible for 29 turnovers in 14 games. I don't care if you're Tom Brady. That's an issue that you have to worry about. Matt Ryan, on the flip side, he's the first quarterback. This is something I got from Football Perspective, so I want to get them credit. But he's the first quarterback in the history of the NFL to have a quarterback rating of 133 or higher in back-to-back games and lose. So that goes to your over, that the offense is not the issue here. They put up 65 points the last 2 weeks on the road at Houston, on the road at Arizona. And then while I worry about going into a rare dome setting, I mean, with the Falcons 1-5, is it really going to be that loud where it affects them and you can't hear play calling? I don't know, especially if Atlanta doesn't get an early lead. I don't know what the crowd support's going to be there this week with the situation there are. I mean, because when game 4, they were 1-2. If they beat Tennessee, they're 2-2. So you had home fans that were excited. Now they come back and they're 1-5. You know, I don't know of that situation. So if I had to pick a side, I'd pick Atlanta, and I have no problem agreeing
just
with
to
you
add
on
to
the
that,
over.
Ralph. You know, I think a pickup like Jalen Ramsey is going to bode really well for the Rams when they play a team like Seattle. He can guard Tyler Lockett, and there's really not a monster wide receiver other than him on the Seahawks. But this Atlanta Falcons team, I mean, you got Sanu, you got Ridley, and you've got Julio Jones. Obviously, Jalen Ramsey's going to cover Julio, but Talib's injured. They just traded another guy off their team. I don't know who the hell is going to cover Sanu and Ridley. And that's also, again, why I like the over in this game. San Francisco, we spoke about them very briefly at the top of the show. -9.5 against Washington, a total of 41.5. And I'll tell you flat out, Ralph, I like the Skins here. Look, I'm high on San Fran now. I wasn't at the beginning of the year. This defense is ridiculous. And their offense is playing just mistake-free right now. They're playing slow, but they're moving the ball up and down the field. With that said, Washington just came off of a win against Miami. I think this number, it's just too high, man. Like 9.5 is too high.
Agree. I also lean with the under. Callahan took over the team. Well, in their first 5 games, the Washington Redskins never rushed the ball more than 21 times. Callahan, of course, was an O-line coach. What happened your first game against Miami? You rushed the ball 33 times. That's what Case Keenum needs when he's the quarterback. He needs a team that's going to run the ball first, and then he could dink and dunk his passes. Yeah, the defense, you can't count what they did against Miami, allowed 71 yards, but I think they are going to run the clock. And listen, we know San Francisco is going to run the ball. In their last 4 games, they have rushed the ball at least 40 times, 4 straight games. Yeah. So there's no question Francisco 49er ball. There's no question with Callahan as the interim head coach, he's going to run the ball. Listen, he's saying, Case Adrian Peterson, we're here. Well, what do you get with Adrian Peterson? You get 3.6 yards per carry. You know he's not going to break long runs. It's another game I like.
He's Ralph Michaels. I'm the Prez. You're watching the NFL Presidential Address, and it's time to get to the late games. Before that, just really quick, I'm on an 9-1 baseball run. I'm 8-1 in the baseball playoffs. You can get the rest of my baseball for $99. Just head over to wagertalk.com. Use the promo code PrezMLB99. 3 more games to go. Chargers versus Tennessee, Ralph. Here we go again. 40 on the board. Every game Tennessee is in, there's 39, 40, 41, and every game it goes under, and this game's going under as well. It looks like Tannehill might start. I don't think it matters. The Chargers are a mess. Tennessee is even worse. This game has 13-6 written all over it to one of those teams. I don't know which one. I'm staying away from the side. I like under the total in this game. I like under the total in every Tennessee game. I don't even need to talk about Tennessee. Take the under.
Again, can't argue that point. I mean, the only game that went over was the 43 points they gave in Cleveland, and that's because Cleveland gifted them all those an extra 200 yards with penalties. You look at 17 against Indy, 7 against Jacksonville, 7 against Buffalo, shutout against Denver, and big whip. You had 24 against the Falcons, whose defense we just talked about. So no issues with that. I actually like the Chargers now. You know, they're a team that has started 2-4, 4 of the last 5 years. They don't lose confidence because we saw in the Pittsburgh absolutely no home edge. Well, that's why they're 5-13-2 ATS. You're playing in front of your home crowd, and you have to listen to these damn Steeler fans that probably were set of the coverage, and it's got to irritate the hell out of you as a Charger player. Now, hey, you go on the road. It's us against them. Well, they're 12-6 on the road, their last 18 road games. So the home team is 25-11-2 when the Chargers play. You have Hunter Henry back, and we know Phillip Rivers needs a tight end. Hunter Henry is that guy who can catch the ball. Melvin Gordon's finally working his way back in. Yeah, you played a Pittsburgh #1 draft choices, so you struggled against the rush last week, and you also got behind 14-0, which is gonna hurt your run game. I think getting away from home is the perfect scenario. They went to Detroit. They had an 85-yard edge in that 3-point loss. They went to Miami. They beat them 30-10. They actually feel better getting out of town and playing on the road. And with the Tennessee team, you know, you're 2-4. Your wins are Atlanta. Your wins are at Cleveland. You're winless at home. You're getting outgained. You're getting outrushed. I do like the Chargers here. And
just really quickly off topic, as a Torontonian, we'll take the Chargers. We need the Chargers. We need a bloody NFL team already. That team cannot stay in LA for very long. Baltimore, Seattle, we spoke about them yesterday. If you guys want to hear an in-depth analysis on that game, check out the betting edge from yesterday. Ralph, let's race through this. I know you like Baltimore. I like the under. Go ahead.
Again, Baltimore, you look at Baltimore's game, and in their last 13 games, they've only lost one game by 6 or more points. They know how to keep it close with a dog. The back door always open with Lamar Jackson. They never stop playing. They let Lamar Jackson run the ball and throw the ball. So many teams change the way they play offense if they're down 14 or 20 points. Harbaugh doesn't. He lets those kids play. He lets Jackson do exactly what he needs to do. You have the running quarterback to extend the field. And Seattle, 4 of their 5 wins by 8 points or less. They haven't gotten margin on anyone. Biggest win they had was at Arizona, and that was because they were coming off a loss. I think they're fat and sassy off the Cleveland win. And I do like the Ravens plus the points.
Sorry about the phone there, Ralph. I've got a show coming up, Betting Edge with Dave Koken and Tony Finn. And we're running a little late, so I just needed to give them a heads up. I need 15 more minutes. New Orleans going into Chicago. Chicago -3 here. The over and under is 38. The bottom line for me, again, Ralph, is I like the under here. I think these are two of the premier defenses in football against two quarterbacks that neither of them are really lighting it up. I think we're going to see a lot of running in this game. I think we're going to see a lot of dips and doos, 5-yard passes in front. And I think we're going to see a lot of field goals. 38 is the number. It's super low, but that's where I'm going. I like under the total.
I agree that the Saints defense is probably the most impressive unit so far this year in the NFL, playing above expectations. 257 yards against Dallas. That was at home for a revved up crowd on Sunday night. 2 yards against Tampa Bay. That was at home with a revved up crowd playing a division foe that beat you last year at home, opening week of the NFL. 226 yards against Jacksonville. That was against a rookie quarterback who finally played a tough defense and struggled. I think coming off those 3 games, now playing a back-to-back Bears team, off an embarrassing loss in London, having a bye week, Bears 8-2 as a home favorite their last 10 games, the best defense in football, and they allowed 398 yards and 25 first downs. I think the Bears down, and let's not forget, Bridgewater may be 4-0 as a starter. He had a 14-0 lead at Seattle. He had a lead at Dallas. He had a lead against Tampa Bay. He has yet to play from behind with any adversity. As long as the Bears get out early here and let their defense do what they got to do, I think the Bears win.
He's Ralph Michaels. I'm the Prez. You're watching the NFL Presidential Address. Guys, we're getting to the end of the show, my friend. Let's race through teasers. I got nothing, Ralph. There will not be a teaser bet by me this week. You at all?
No, but I do want to mention something. People sometimes talk about taking these big favorites and teasing them down when you have over a double-digit favorite. When you have a double-digit favorite and you tease them down in a 6-point teaser, it's only a 10% better odds than betting them against the spread. Don't tease down double-digit favorites if you think, oh, this team's laying 10, I only have to lay 4 in a teaser, and I'm going through 7 and I'm going through 10. It doesn't work out the same as those numbers. No teaser play
Ralph,
for
what do
me.
you like money line wise? Let me guess.
Money line, looking at dogs.
You like Denver and you like Arizona.
I like Denver. I like Arizona. I might take a flyer on Oakland. I might take a flyer on Atlanta. I might play a little round robin in there with all of those and see. Last week I do a Wager Talk upset report for college football and the NFL. Last week there were 5 teams that pulled the outright as a 3-point dog or more. Jets beat Dallas, Pittsburgh beat the Chargers, Houston beat Kansas City, San Fran beat the Rams, and Arizona beat Atlanta.
Money line wise, look, I love the concept of doing a little round robin here, and I think you've got a lot of opportunity. I think you've got Denver, you've got Arizona, you've got Atlanta, and you've got Cincinnati. I think all 4 of those teams, there's value on the money line, and I think a 4-team 3 and 4 round robin might be a good bet. Brother, thanks for doing this, man. Love having you on the show. We'll see you next Wednesday for the NFL Presidential Address. You are the man, Ralph. Be well.
Thanks.